Dramione Fanfiction Hall of Fame Part 1. Fics that are longer than 100,000 words. Hi friends, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is V and I've been reading Dramione Fanfiction for the past 5 years and making videos about them for the past 4. If you're not new here, hi friends, happy anniversary. I'm filming this on the day of our 4th anniversary of the little friendship. For this year, I'm gonna release a 4-part Hall of Fame series talking about my top of all time Dramione fanfictions, epic, cream of the crop, the creme de la creme, whatever you want to call them, but these fanfictions are not going to miss, okay? So as a disclaimer, what we are not going to do in this video is talk about the quality, because you guys already know that the writing, the premise, the pace, everything about these fanfictions are perfections. So shall we get started on our little journey? If we have been friends for a while, you guys know that the top Dramione fanfictions of all time in my heart, and no matter how many fics that I've read, ever seen, no matter what, no fic has ever come close to even dethrone this story for me, and that's The Dragon Brides by Rizzo. This story is an alternative universe story set in the 7 years at Hogwarts, where Draco and Hermione wake up from a drunken night, accidentally soul bonded to each other via a marriage tattoo. I don't know about you guys, but even with 5 years of experience reading Dramione under my belt, I have never come across such a synopsis anywhere else but this fanfiction. So 2 disclaimers coming into this story. The first is that it's a work in progress, as in it's being reposted by the author after the 20th anniversary of the story. You can start reading this story with the assurance that it has already been completed. The second disclaimer is that it has a little bit of a trigger warning at the beginning of the story. I know that for some reader it may be a little bit hard for you guys, so please look out for that disclaimer before you guys start this story. This story is an adventure, and every time I talk about this story I want to reread it. To me, this is my Dramione manifestation in a fic. For me, it's an experience that I cannot sum up or review in my little video, so you guys just have to go out there and read it for yourself. And like I say, after 5 years, no story has ever come close to dethrone The Dragon Brides for me, so it's that big of a deal in my heart. The next story that I'm gonna recommend is something that I believe most of us has already read. It's a story that is perfect for me to recommend to Dramione newcomers, or if someone tell me that they would only ever give one Dramione fanfiction a chance, I would recommend this story knowing full well that it will never be just that one for them, okay? It's Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love by Is This Self-Care, or as we Dramione girly call it, the Batmobile. This story opened up for us with 2 overpowered characters. Draco, being the top tier Auror, is assigned her security mission because she is researching a cure that is so great that she has attracted some baddies, being the best researcher healer in the country. Story I feel like is everything that anyone would ever want to read in a Dramione fanfiction. Perfect balance of everything, and it's the one story that will make you wonder why and how you're reading fanfiction for free, and compared to some of the published romance books that I have, the Batmobile. So if someone tell you that they will only give Dramione fanfiction one chance, best believe it's gonna be Batmobile, okay? The next story that I have here, I have a very solidified opinions about. Most of the fics that are on this list for me, I read towards the beginning of my Dramione fanfiction career, which you can credit my feelings to the fact that I was hungry for fanfictions. But this one that I'm about to tell you guys, I read it very recently, was read when I already have all of the other story under my belt, and it made it to the number 3 spot, okay? We have The Darkwood One by the Bee Moon. So this story started for us with Draco attempting a new spell to bring witches into his bed. Somehow his little mischief misfire, and he keeps bringing Hermione Granger into his bed. And there is a little bit of a mystery going on the side as well. So they are on this journey of finding or solving that mystery, but also solving the feelings that they have for the other person. And it's just so tender, but at the same time it's so Dramione. It's very in characters with what I imagine Draco and Hermione to be. So I'm thoroughly in love with this story. It blew my mind, my heart, my soul. I read this story with everything else under my belt, and it still made it to my number 3 spot. Take it whatever you will. Story that I have though, opposite to the Batmobile, it's very fanfiction-y. It has all the elements that you may expect it to find in a fanfiction, and it's one of those work where you may have read in like middle school and were never able to forget. That fic to me is Draconian by Noelle. So in this story, we have a jaded Death Eater Draco who is also playing both sides, so he's working for the Order as well. And in this universe, the Order only give him one mission. His only mission is to locate Hermione Granger, who is believed to hold the key to ending the war. However, after years and years of searching, he finally did find Hermione, but she was in no state of being a Hermione Granger that he remembered. She remembered no one else but himself. Tell me how you guys find these synopses anywhere else but these fanfictions are not your typical, like whatever. They will give you a unique experience in itself. And if you are in for a little bit of like a Slytherin gang bang type of deal, this story will fulfill that wish for you. Dramione is something that I read entirely on my 14-hour flight to Vietnam, to my home country. Ever seen like the feeling of finishing such a great piece of fanfictions and coming home at the same time? I have never been able to find that emotion or that feeling ever again in my life. The next story we have is Remain Nameless by H19, and this story is a romance love story, the best that you can ask for, set 9 or 11 years after the war. So we have adult Draco and Hermione in this story. It's told from Draco's point of view, where he's navigating a lot of feelings and a lot of negative emotions post-war, but everything changed after this chance encounter that he has with Hermione Granger at this little cafe. This story is not a short story at all, but you guys have to know that after I finish this story front to back, I immediately go back and read the story again front to back. It being like a 300,000 word story, I can probably recite scenes from this story for you guys in my sleep. I hear a lot of opinions online saying that they DNF the story because they feel like it drags a lot, but for me, someone who doesn't even read that sophisticatedly, I devour this story like a hungry child because it has a perfect mix of everything that you want to find in love. Like if you want love, you gotta read this story, okay? Next is also a story that I just read recently, and it's Waffen Stray by Kiyonomiko. We have a story that starts at the end of the 8th year at Hogwarts, where Draco has come up with a brilliant plan. In this universe, he is a little unregistered animagi, come up with a little plan to escape the wizarding world by transforming into his animal form and follow a Hogwarts student home with the hope that he can just escape without nobody knowing. However, lucky or unlucky for him, the student who ended up taking him home is Hermione Granger, who is dealing with a lot of grief, a lot of guilt, a lot of negative headspace post-war. It made me laugh out loud on chapters, but at the same time, there were lines in this story that just grabbed my heart. Do you guys know that feeling when you're reading a piece of fanfiction and you feel like your heartstring constrict? That's what I felt with this story. Next, we have a fan favorite, and we have Bloody, Slutty, and Pathetic by What Mother. Just recently, the summer of 2024, and it's just as hot as the summer outside. In this story, we have a marriage law story where they both fought tooth and nail for this story and falling in love at the same time. This is also another story that my summarization or a little synopsis will not be able to do this story justice. It has everything that you want for Dramione and more, so there are a lot of side pairing in this story as well if you are someone who is into a lot of couples at once. This story is also an experience, and it will probably change your perspective on the characters of Draco Malfoy forever. You will have a good time with this story. Good time with this story, okay? Next, I'm gonna counter all of that with a little angst, okay? Big angst, actually, not a little angst. And we have Sweetly Broken by Lady Kenzie 347. This story is very special to my heart because it follows a first-person point of view Draco narration. And the entirety of this fic is actually his character growth, his character arc of Draco Malfoy overcoming the war. It's actually this story that changed my perception on the character of Draco Malfoy forever. It's a realistic and heartbreaking journey of Draco discovering himself. So there are a lot of coping mechanisms being discussed here. And if you're that person who are into the hard-earned happiness, you want your character to be beaten down before they get picked up, this story is gonna be for you because once you get to the happy ending in this story, the reason why I say happy ending because it's tagged by the author, okay? I'm not spoiling you guys. It's like all the puzzle falling into place. It's like firework in the sky. You know, it's all of that feelings combined. Next, we have a classic, and we have The Disappearances of Draco Malfoy by Speechwriter. This story is an alternative universe story that started for us at the end of the 6th year at Hogwarts. Imagine a universe where Draco Malfoy has a little bit more time to accept Dumbledore's offer on the top of the astronomy tower, and you have this fanfiction. The opinions online that you will find on The Disappearances of Draco Malfoy is that it's written in the closest prose possible to the 7 Harry Potter books, and a lot of people on the internet has petitioned for this fanfiction to be the official 7 books in the Harry Potter series. So before we have the Batmobile, this used to be my #1 recommendation to newcomers into the Dramione community. To me, in this story, the Dramione romance take a backseat to everything else that unfolds in the story. I'd recommend to someone who wants to read Dramione fanfiction without too much of that romance going on with Draco and Hermione. And also, if you have a younger reader who you don't want all of that, feel free to recommend this story to them. But at the same time, it's a perfect balance between that plot and the romance between Draco and Hermione. For someone who is only interested in the love between Draco and Hermione, this story just has satisfied me so. Next, we have one of the most beautiful written Dramione fanfictions that I have ever read, and I don't think I've ever read anything else that's that are so beautifully written with this length. We have Trust and Lies by Max Boyle. In this story, we have a Draco and Hermione who accidentally become friends at the beginning of their 6th year at Hogwarts because the summer before that, Hermione just by chance has saved Draco's life in a very sticky situation, and so they had that opportunity to initiate or to start a friendship that would change everything. So in this grand journey, we're going to follow Draco and Hermione as they navigate the war. I'm saying grand because we have a whole war building in this story. We have so many original characters in this story, and we have the ensemble of everyone who has ever attended Hogwarts in this story. And the words that I have read in this story are forever etched into my heart, okay? It's like lyric. It's lyric to my heart, okay? The next story that I have here is I Will Make You Proud by Where Does She Goes. And this story, I have had an entire video talking about this story on my channel if you want to check that out. Trigger warning, this story started off for us with a mystery where Draco Malfoy has hung himself with a bag of memories besides him. So we have Hermione trying to work out what the heck is happening. And it takes you on this journey that I will never recover from. It kind of displays all the perceptions or ideas in my head about Draco Malfoy and everyone else in his life. It made it into my top 15 story among these pilers in the community for a reason. I recommend you try if you have the heart for it. Coming to the last quarter of this list, I have something that will never be erased from this list, no matter how many more fanfictions that I read, because it's the first one that I have ever read with Dramione fanfiction, and it's Isolation by Bex Chen. I was watching a little show and there was a mole and like, you know, the real people, and the real people have to like find a mole, and the mole, she was so good at her job that she actually mentioned Isolation as the Dramione fanfictions, and that was my first string into this whole community. That opened my Pandora box, or the floodgate, or you know, the rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it. So we have an alternative universe story where Hermione actually doesn't go on the Horcrux hunting trip with Ron and Harry, but instead she stay back at Hogwarts. On the other side, Draco, after the events of the astronomy tower, was brought back to Hogwarts by Snape for his own protection. And because of the, you know, delicate predicament that they are in, they are put into the same quarter at Hogwarts for both of their safety. Again, they have that chance to overcome all of the prejudice that they have ever had against the other person. It's the most Dramione fanfictions of all Dramione fanfictions out there, and I acknowledge my bias with this being the first ever Dramione fanfictions that I've ever read set at Hogwarts. It's like this enemy to lover, but in a very schoolyard way. It's all the essence that you would expect with Draco and Hermione being forced to live together in a close quarter. Even though it was the fanfictions that I first read when I come into the community, I can also recite scenes from this story for you guys even 5 years later. Yes, it has a place in my heart reserved specifically for it, but at the same time, it earned the spot on my 15. Next, we have a giant piece of work, and that is Measure of a Man by Inadas 22. And to be completely honest with you guys, even years after I finished reading this story, I don't even know how to summarize this story for you guys. In simple words, we follow the character arc of one Draco Malfoy through the eyes of Hermione Granger. To me, it's a project fanfiction, and even though it's often characterized as it's one of the best character arc for Draco Malfoy that I have ever read in Dramione fanfiction, I feel like it's just as much a Hermione Granger character arc as Draco's we have in this story. I feel like I'm just so small compared to this story, and I'm just nobody to even like summarize or give a review on this story for you guys because it's just that epic. The next item I have on this list, it breaks my heart to put it into here, okay? Because we have Lionheart by Green Teacup that I haven't finished this story, just as none of us has finished this story. This story has been recommended to me by so many of us friends on this channel, and I took so long to get into this story, and when I finally did get into it, I understand everything that was spoken to me about this story. If you ever wonder if there is a rewrite of the Harry Potter series from Draco's point of view, this story will answer that question for you. I understand why people are so in love with it. I understand why so many people call this name when it comes to the one Dramione fanfictions in their heart. Just after a little bit or like a third of the story, I have already recognized the greatness, and I mourn every day for the loss of this story. I do respect Green Teacup's decisions, but you know, the tiny selfish part, not even tiny, the big selfish part of myself always wish that she would come back and finish out this epic, this masterpiece for us to read. And the last item that I put on this list, I'm not putting it last because of the quality or the ranking or my feelings or whatever. I'm just putting it last because I know that everyone has already read this story, and you may have stumbled upon my video because of this story. And we have Manacle by Sandlin Yu. In this story, if you haven't heard, which I doubt, in this story we have a very grim alternative universe where Voldemort has won the final battle at Hogwarts. Draco is serving him as his right-hand man and as this Jade character when Hermione is given to him as a slave because she is believed to hold the key to the. It's a page turner and you cannot stop reading it once you get into the story because you just needed to know. I remember that I didn't even eat or sleep. I just manicle. It's a story that I have a good time reading but not a good time feeling. In all, it's a one in a million type of story and we may never have another like it. That's the end of the first part to my treasure chest Hall of Fame Dramione. The next part that I have coming up are stories that are like 75 to 100,000 word length and then like 50,000 word to 75,000 word and then one shots or like shorter story. So stay tuned if you want to catch some of my other Hall of Fame fanfictions. I'm losing my voice obviously, but I hope you guys have a good time hanging out with me today and I will see you guys in the next one, okay? And to my friends on this channel, happy anniversary. I love you and I miss you so much. Love.